Monday after International Women's Day. Good morning and a warm welcome. Scratch that. A cool welcome based on the heat to your perfect day starter. The morning brief. I'm Kayode Okikiolu.
And happy International Women's Day to all the women who maybe nobody wished you happy International Women's Day. And maybe you didn't even know that it was International Women's Day is a possibility. But happy International Women's Day in arrears. And it's Women's Month. Thank you so much for coming on the program. We appreciate you. I'm Jeffrey Uzama.
We can talk about the heat, but let's pay attention to the big one, International Women's Day. It's Women's Month, March. Well, I would say it's a women's world, really. So whether it's March, April, January, February, it's a woman's world, as they say. But March is essentially a month where we pay attention to women and all things women. Why is this tokenism? It shouldn't be. Fine, a lot of people see it in different ways, but it shouldn't be tokenism. It's a month that we should really sit down and say, how well have we fared with women in the world? And I'm talking about men, really. And I know that there's always that debate, let your competence speak for you, okay? There should be no need to prop anybody or push anybody, but we know that largely men have held sway, and it's important to be very magnanimous when it comes to power, when it comes to management in the family and the rest. So it is beyond tokenism for us right here on the Morning Brief. And guess what? Today is dedicated to women. You're going to see a lineup of amazing women all through the show, and I bet it's going to blow your mind. Or in Bukola's words, it's a bumper package. But Jeffrey, how did you celebrate International Women's Day?
Of course, my wife, my international woman, my one and only international woman, celebrated her the best way I can. And of course, women are quite strong beyond what we think. I think the definition of strength for a lot of people is different. When it comes to physicality and all of that, we may be stronger, but there's a lot more a woman brings to the table beyond what we think it is in terms of the ability, especially to multitask. What we can do is for those places that they lag due to their maybe natural disposition, what we can do is to support them, especially in politics, especially in places of power, where we know that they can contribute essentially to development of communities, towns, villages, nations, states, and all of that. They must be given the best they can. It's quite sad that as we celebrate International Women's Day, and this is Women's Month, our Senate is composed of just 4 women out of 109 senators in the country. And of course, the number is also not quite good in the House of Reps. We will go on to the House of Assemblies across the state, and that number may be abysmal as well. Some may not even have a woman. But the places where they're trying to maybe bring women on board, perhaps for tokenism or whatever it is, but at least something that's on the table is maybe deputy chairman of local government, deputy governors as well. Okay, vice chairman, that's cool. Deputy governors as well, just to make sure that women representation, at least I can call a couple of states now that the deputies are women. So we must go beyond all of that, including cabinet positions. I think we have less than 10 in President Bola Tinubu's cabinet of about 48 or 49 or so. A lot more can be done. By the promise, we're supposed to have about 15, 16 of them in that cabinet. So what we can do right here is to continue to advocate for women. But one of the things women are also really looking out for is their protection, given all the sexual harassment, allegations, and all of that. We must provide safe spaces, whether at the National Assembly, our homes, at offices, safe spaces for women. And that begins with men being responsible for women at all times, okay? So that's what we're going to highlight a lot today on the program. So stay here, and you're going to have a good ride on the program.
Absolutely. I know people are torn betwixt two themes for this year's International Women's Day. There's accelerate action on the one hand, and then there's the UN's for all women and girls rights, equality, and empowerment. But what we'll do is just mix everything together, but ensure that we stay on the issue. So let's get right into what we have for you on the show this morning. You already know, but let's break it down. In celebration of Women's History Month and International Women's Day, taking a cue from all of the celebrations, we will be taking a look at policies affecting women's rights. So we're going to break it down. So beyond all of the general conversations, we're breaking it down, and we're very clinical on the show this morning. So we're taking a look at the policies affecting women's rights on the one hand, economic empowerment on the other, and leadership inclusion in Nigeria. If there's a third hand, That is it, right there. But more importantly, how can we bridge the gap in access to opportunities?
Yes, we'll be talking about breaking barriers literally as quickly and as much as possible. They call it shattering the glass ceiling. It's a popular word, but what does this mean? One of the things we'll do on the program is to make sure that we highlight some of these women breaking barriers daily as much as possible. So we will use women. They said the best way to tell a story is to follow a character. That is why they've taken over the show today, literally. Bukola should be here.
And from governance, we move into skill development, mentorship, and financial empowerment. I'll be taking a look at inspiring stories of women, right, who are doing amazing stuff, turning dreams into reality. How well can you turn your dream into reality as a woman, even as a man? Well, you'll find out on the show this morning.
And not about just that. Resilience is critical. Resilience is the key word here. Resilience in business. It is easy to give up. It is more profitable not to. And that is the message these women will be expatiating on the program to ensure we have real big explainers as to how women can navigate some of the very, very tricky parts with their own complexities as well. So, hey, we're packed right here on the program.
Absolutely. So let's get right into it. I don't want to waste any minute right now. And we're starting off with the front pages for you. You can be a part of the show, by the way. You've been seeing the email on the screen. That's the morning brief at channelstv.com. Send in your email. Let us know how you're celebrating women in your own little or big corner. I like to believe everyone has their little corner. So let us know, how are you celebrating women? How are you changing the narrative? We'd like to share your experience with the world. Well, let's get into the front pages. The Guardian newspaper is up. Very first newspaper we're looking at on the show this morning. And it's sort of a departure, at least the big story is a departure from International Women's Day. This focuses on one of the issues that then indirectly affect women and men and children in Nigeria, and that is, well, the fight against corruption or corruption itself. So this is how the Guardian leads this morning. Worries as the EFCC recovers 1 trillion naira stolen cash and assets from politicians, others. Yes, you heard that right. 1 trillion naira. For proper context, and I like the way the Guardian broke it down this morning, there's a map that shows where the monies are recovered from. There's a breakdown in naira, in dollars, in pounds, in Canadian dollars, all of those different currencies. The Guardian newspaper breaks it down. And just so you can understand, Nigeria's budget is about 50 trillion naira. Right, so this is 1 trillion naira recovered.
About 54.
Yeah, so this is 1 trillion naira recovered. So you understand just how big a deal this is. So that's how the Guardian newspaper leads on the show, or this morning on their own front page. Worry. So the worry may be about what you find out on the inside pages.
Absolutely, and just to comment on that as well, I think it's also important that in catching these people or recovering all of these assets, we get the people that perpetrated this evil or stole these monies, whether allegedly or they've been convicted. What Nigerians want to see that will help the optics of the anti-graft agency, we've always said, is putting people behind bars. Because at the end of the day, if that doesn't happen, people will just keep stealing and know that they can't negotiate, plea bargain, or anything that is done legally to just put their names or hide their names away from the public. But we must begin to see, besides this big money, which is commendable, 1 trillion is a lot of money by any stretch of imagination. But who are the people who stole these monies? Maybe if I look through or you read through, you may see their names. Are they big names? Are they popular names? You know, Kaya, one of the funny things that happen in Nigeria is that money keeps missing. Some of the political class keep blaming corruption, yet we don't see who stole the money. It's quite interesting. That is why we have the AFCC and the ICPC to pick them, prosecute them, find them guilty, those ones that are guilty. I'll get to know this guy was a thief while he was in office. That's what we want to see. It will help redeem our image beyond the monies. But congratulations to the EFCC for doing these recoveries. At least we're looking for 13, Abi. Our deficit $13 trillion. So if we add this, at least we're close $1 trillion gap. If it is in one fell swoop, Abi.
And this has been over a period of time.
Yeah.
Really. So, well, interesting developments. We'll definitely be following through in the coming days.
Sure. I think beneath that Guardian, we have the Fubara to meet with pro-Wike lawmakers amid political uncertainties in Rivers State. This news broke yesterday, where the SSG had written to the Speaker of the Rivers State House Assembly, Martin Amewule, inviting them for a meeting today by 10 a.m. That's about less than 3 hours from now. The agenda of the meeting will focus on potpourri of issues, including issues around a befitting sitting, a place for them to do their sitting that is quite befitting. They also talked about remunerations and allowances that will be paid, maybe they have not been paid, and the big one that has to do with the budget presentation and what they consider sundry issues. Well, we don't know whether the House of Assembly members will honor this invitation. We had a conversation yesterday with some people. They said some people are complaining that the letter should have been written or signed off by the governor, not the SSG. I don't know how civil service correspondence work, but hey, Rivers got to calm down. But the governor has extended the invitation. Let's see how that plays. So we're watching, our eyes and our ears, our cameras are all over the place, ensuring that we cover every bit of that. But if you want to find out details, you can get to the inside of the Guardian newspaper. If we go to the Nigerian Tribune, which is our next paper, that's the big headline. You can't miss it. Natasha in red. Beneath that headline is Saraki cautions Akpabio, advises him not to politicize, trivialize call for due process in Senate, rescind suspension of Kogi's lawmaker and face legal action. Serap tells Akpabio, in 15 years, all lawmakers suspended by NAS, state assemblies reinstated by courts. Falano. So I think Natasha Akpoti she's headed to court. I can't confirm that, but I think she said this injustice cannot stand that. I can only understand that to be, we'll find out what happens at the end of the day. But it brings other layers of issues. Some people say, Saraki has made this statement, it's political and all of that. You can go the back and forth, but these are some of the calls by some groups, Sarah, Falano, asking that this should not be trivialized. What I wanted to find out, I know that the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, had actually accepted that resubmitted petition of sexual allegation to the Ethics, Code of Conduct and Public Petitions Committee. But they suspended her for 6 months. If she apologizes, it could be less. But that report is supposed to be ready in the next 4 weeks. So, and she's not supposed to be anywhere close to the National Assembly. So how is that going to work? Are they going to, because of that, allow her in? Is Senator Akpabio going to also testify, because he's the one that they are alleging against, so he has to testify. The issue of suspending individuals versus silencing the right word, the constituency not having a voice for that long, for that time that they suspend the senators is a big conversation. But let's unpack it for you again. The issue that has been dealt with in the Senate has to do with parliamentary conduct, their House rules or their Senate rules. The issue of defamation and counter-defamation is in court. Sexual harassment issue is still before the Ethics and Code of Conduct Public Petitions Committee, not decided yet. So we'll try to explain all of this so you know what is posited at the end of the day, Coyote.
So very interesting scenario playing out there, smack in the middle of International Women's Month in that sense. I say interesting because it should interest every Nigerian. Everyone should be interested in what this means for the bigger picture. Yes, there might be personal issues here and there. Yes, they were friends or family friends, all of that. We don't know all of the backstory, right? A lot of it we don't know, but the bigger picture is what we're looking at right now. And you'll see also on that front page of the Nigerian Tribune, Catholic bishops decry worsening security, economic hardship. So those are big issues as well. The security issues, economic issues. So are we getting distracted? Or can we just pay attention to all these issues and give them full value at the same time? So lest we forget that we have these issues to deal with. We'll take a look at Blueprint newspaper. Blueprint is next. And this is what Blueprint leads with. Yes, that book is in circulation both in the bookstores, in the hands of people, and in the mouth and minds of Nigerians as well. A Journey in Service, book written by former military head of state Ibrahim Babangida. But this angle is from a family of another military head of state, a former military head of state, late General Sani Abacha, saying, take responsibility for June 12 annulment. June 12 annulment, Abacha family tackles IBB. Urges Nigerians to ignore attempt to manipulate public perception. It's a very interesting statement which was released by the Abacha family. In case you've not seen that, let me just take a line or two from that statement for you. It says, the memory of our late father and leader, General Sani Abacha, must not be tarnished by baseless accusations meant to absolve those who are truly responsible. So the family of late General Sani Abacha says nobody should try to tarnish the image of their late father.
Yeah, but, that's Mohamed Abacha.
Yeah. So the question is, what is his image like right now? And is it being tarnished? For a lot of people, they know what they think of him. So would someone come to tarnish his image even further or at all? That part really got me. But that's what the Abacha family is saying this morning. And I imagine that for the next few weeks, give or take 10 weeks, this book will still be in the conversation. But that's the front page of the Blueprint.
I've never seen a book that will cause, in fact, the whole of this year, people continue to refer to that book. But just before we leave that, the Natasha story, Senator Natasha story is still there, where a statement credited to Godswill Akpabio, the Senate President, uninformed commentators, herbalists, quoting holy books. So, kind of what we expect to happen is when that allegation, sexual harassment allegation is heard, we would like to see the testimony of Senator Godswill Akpabio, just like I know we didn't see Senator Natasha Akpoti. I hope she'll be invited, and we hope it's going to be covered by the press. And I hope the Senate is going to deploy the same level of energy that they deployed in upholding their rule book, which they hold very sacred. Nigerians are watching. So I know the senators are talking about redeeming image and all of that. This is the best way to do it so that women will be seen to have safe spaces in the National Assembly. I think News Direct is the last one. Nigerian News Direct. Fubara bows to pressure, invites pro-Wike lawmakers to crucial meeting. So that particular headline, we're going to give you updates. It's just a few minutes past 7 a.m. this morning. So by 10 a.m. we expect the lawmakers, hopefully, should meet with the governor at Government House by 10 a.m. And let's see how that plays out. There's a lot of fireworks. There's a lot of tension. Nobody knows what to expect. But we hope this will bring peace somewhere, one form or the other, in Rivers State.
So there you go. Very interesting day. It will turn out to be, clearly. Stay with Channels Television for all of those updates as we unveil them for you. But let's get right into what you are saying about the big stories. Naturally, we start with International Women's Day. And, you know, the quote that has been used a lot is, when you educate a woman, you educate a nation. I know that the Minister of Education announced that policy really just essentially to encourage women or girls now participation in schools, because I think largely they have been most affected by some of these primordial sentiments, you may say, or cultural beliefs, and then insecurity as well exacerbated the issues, particularly in northern Nigeria. So if there's any gift that I think we should give girls who eventually become women, it will be education. So let's see what you have to say about this. Ife Ikeja says, ensuring that every girl has access to education while also supporting women's economic growth. Happy International Women's Day. So this is targeted at the Minister of Education now in that sense. So that's the statement from women. But a reminder, this user adds, about the promise to HND graduates, says that this is excluded I know that there is that bill now to regularize, HND certificate holders and all of that. So is this part of it? Well, I don't know.
All right, Tohib says, Happy International Women's Day. Commendable work on girl-child education via Lumina. I'm not sure what that means. A subtle reminder, sir, regarding ND part-time and HND full-time NYSC issue 2 with time frame elapsed. Looking forward to official memo. Thank you, sir. So I don't know why this dichotomy is such a big deal in Nigeria, but the authorities have to just do what they have to do. Not everybody will go to uni. Some people have to go through that route, and they should be respected for what they bring to the table. It's as simple as that.
Definitely. In case you're wondering what Lumina is, the minister had announced that Lumina is an initiative aimed at empowering 1 million underprivileged girls across the country by 2030. So that's an ambitious target, 1 million underprivileged girls across the country. But how do we break this down and ensure that it is implemented the right way? Amidst the insecurity in some of these areas, it's an important conversation to have. But we just wanted to tell you that that is what is being thought of in the Ministry of Education. A couple more comments on that one, but let's move on to this other issue that has been making the rounds, and it's the case of a farmer from Adamawa State. His name, Sunday Jackson. We understand that he's been sentenced to death for killing a herdsman. And his defense was that he acted in self-defense. At least that's what we understand. There's still a lot to be known from that case. What kind of defense was put forward by his legal representatives? What did the court consider in coming to that final judgment and all of that? But let's take a look at what Nigerians have been saying about that issue, which trended over the weekend. First is from Salvage_response, who says, some may commend the decision, or condemn rather the decision, but it is the facts presented that the court looks in convicting. So that's what Salvage says.
Exactly. Law can be very tricky. Dikpo Adedikpe says, let's put aside the sentiment. The defense lawyer needed to establish and create more doubt rather than rely solely on self-defense. The American justice system already helps to establish the limits of self-defense in a very tricky situation. Defense in criminal procedure must be preemptively holistic.
So the Supreme Court essentially upheld the death sentence of Sunday Jackson, and that brought up the issue again. That was last week, March the 7th. And the next one is from Gimba Suleiman, who says if he was right, then he has his lawyer to blame. A criminal offense, especially one of murder, needs to be proven beyond reasonable doubt before conviction can be secured. Either the prosecution were meticulous or his lawyer couldn't put an element of doubt in the mind of the court.
The Curator's Hub says it's alarming that someone who claims to have acted in self-defense could end up in a death sentence or with a death sentence. This raises serious concern about the fairness of justice system, especially in conflict zones like Adamawa. As we said, we don't know what the defense lawyer had put up for the Supreme Court to actually affirm the position of either the appellate court or the trial or the lower court at the end of the day. Sometimes I also feel that people should take time also pick up CTCs of judgment. You will see that things are not as clear or as you think they are when it comes to standing in a law court. It's slightly tricky and a bit different. But I know this is going to generate a lot of talk. We were not there when these things happened, but we're just reporting what has happened in court.
There you go. So from the courts, while we keeping tabs on that one, from the courts we move to the presidential villa, where we understand that President Bola Tinubu has rejected a 942 billion naira census budget and is instead proposing the use of NYSC core members for the census exercise. Just to put this in context, it's almost 20 years since we conducted our last census. The previous administration was meant to conduct it, but moved it to the next day, and eventually just shifted it to the next administration, which is the Tinubu administration. But how is this government going to go about it? Well, the latest we understand is the president saying, well, we have to go about this a different approach. In fact, his spokesperson, Mr. Bayo Nanuga, has quoted the president as saying that this stop-and-go approach to the census won't work. We need a clear path. What does that mean? Well, it looks like it might be too expensive for the president. Corps members will be co-opted for this particular exercise. And Tahir Prime says using NYC corps members for the census is cost-saving, but their welfare must be prioritized. If the 77,000 allowance is still unpaid, how can they handle extra responsibilities without additional support? So is this the way to go? Well, manpower is one thing, but the modus operandi of this census is the other thing. How? Are we just going to count how many are you in your family? We're 20.
That's what I'm wondering. Almost $1 billion that the president rejected. I don't know the details of how the commission, National Population Commission, want to execute this, but I hope and I pray that it's going to be through biometrics. If we're doing anything short of biometrics, we're just wasting our time. And that's on one hand. The other hand, whatever it will cost to know just how many we are, I think is worth the money, if you ask me. I know there's paucity of funds and all of that. We cannot run a country with assumptions like this. 2006 was the last time we had something close to an estimation of how many we are. And now we're banding figures that over 200, 230, 2 days. Some of us, I believe actually that if we really do biometrics, Nigeria, we may be less than 200 million people if we use biometrics like the one we used during the election. It shows what has been happening in our election. You see, the numbers, they continue to reduce because technology is catching a lot of people who want to cheat the system. So I think whatever it is that has to be deployed for us to know how many people we are. If you want to use the coppers and that's going to bring efficiency, good and fine, but make sure their priorities or their welfare is prioritized. Yes, I think that's the much you can take from your comment. We will have time, I guess, for other comments as well as the program progresses. But we will take just a quick short break, and when we come back, we'll get to the very first conversation for the day. It's Women's Day right here. Is it Women's Day?
It's our own women. It's a Monday after International Women's Day.
Kind of. So we'll be right back. Join us again.
So let's get right into it. Umar Getso, join us, a political activist, vice presidential candidate of the YPP in the 2019 presidential election, and the CEO, Kwame Integrated Solutions, joining us from our Abuja studio. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief. Just get right into it. I know it's been said time and again, happy International Women's Day, happy International Women's Day, but was it really a happy International Women's Day for you and by extension other women that you speak with or represent?
Thank you very much. A very good morning to you. It's a pleasure being with you again. And happy International Women's Day to all the women in the world. Thank you.
Yeah, so right to my question, was it really a happy International Women's Day when you look at the policies of women representation and all of that? Is it really a happy International Women's Day? Beyond the greeting now, I'm looking at the reality.
Yes, if you look at the reality, there are a lot of challenges, but we'll still wish ourselves happy with International Women's Day because we are still mothers, we're still nurturers, and we are happy from our end or from our own end because that's what we do best as a nurturing, making our being good mothers, and we're always striving to give our best. So I will still say happy International Women's Day to all women out there.
So the reason why we're asking the question, you know, we can break it down across levels, from family level to community level to the national level. So let's stay at the national level. This administration, when I say this dispensation of the latest people that came, the last election brought into the places of power or positions of power, we could clearly see that women are clearly underrepresented. And there are reasons for some of the given for that particular outcome. People have said that election was highly competitive. How much could women bring to the table? Electoral value, not competence to perform in office. That's a different kettle of fish. So in going forward and looking at this data, we're talking about accelerating women and all of that. What do you think should be proposed as to helping women find, whether it's a very competitive or less competitive elections, so help women get into places of power so that they can contribute their quota? I'm just thinking that given one played out in the Senate, if we reverse the role, you know, we have 105 men as against 4 women. If we had 105 women to 4 men, would things have changed?
Yes, it's a quite challenging journey, especially for us women, because it goes both ways. If we look at what we are supposed to be given, like there are some laws that are not favoring women, because if you look, if at least there will be a law that will say, as in this, there's a certain percentage of women that need to come on board or that need to be elected or go to the maybe white or green chamber, that will be a little bit more fair. And I'm very unfortunate there are a lot of laws that are either not passed or delayed to be passed. So these are some of the challenges. And from we as women, from our own angle too, there are some, like, should I say, natural causes or political and cultural challenges that we're facing, which are truly dragging us back. But we need to do more. We need to be looked at more than just women, more than maybe what we look like. We need to be considered based on what we can give, not based on what we look like. So it's a very, very challenging situation for all the women around the world, especially in the political, or should I say, leadership positions, because very bad if you look at all the happenings in the country. That's why I'm very, very against seeing women being like open, not being within their own limit or within their own terrain, trying to jump or to do things that are not very, very appropriate, because we are not supposed to be tagged with other things. We only want to be tagged as women based on merit, based on what we can give, not based on anything. So I feel like a lot should be done from our own, a lot should be done from our own side as women to contribute our quota, to come forward and take it, because a lot of things are not given. You have to go and grab it. So as women, we have to come forward, and the nation needs to understand that there are a lot of talented women out there who has what it takes, who has a lot to contribute to the quota, to the status quo. We are nurturers. We believe in bringing a positive change. We believe in like doing things right more than the way the men have been doing it. And I'm glad that you said it's not only about competence, because earlier you were talking about just women not being their competence. It's not about competence. It's about the things that we're supposed to be given to us. We know that women are facing a lot of financial challenges when it comes to politics, and as you said, Nigerian politics has become very, very expensive, and most of us, we don't just give our energy trying to earn the financial backing. We are busy trying to raise homes. So doing the two things together is very, very challenging. So the system needs to look at as in supporting women and reserving some quotas for only women. I think this is very, very important to look into.
Indeed. And I want you to maybe share your experience so far in politics. I mean, you ran for the second highest office, that's the vice presidential slot in 2019. You've also been active in politics from that moment. And we're focusing on politics because that's what translates to governance and eventually the policies that we see around us. So if the barriers are there in politics, it'll be tough for women to get in governance and for their voices to be heard when the policies are being made. So how has your experience been? Is politics structured in such a way that it makes it difficult for women to participate? Some have talked about the meeting times, for example, having meetings at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., you can just be called upon. And for a woman who's probably married, that will be tough. In terms of the financial bit as well, which you've talked about, that could also be tough. And all of the other things, what was your experience like? Our politics, as it is structured now, is it women-friendly? Does it protect women?
Well, I will say this is a question I've answered a lot of times, but I will say it's a very, very beautiful journey. I started this journey in 2016 by founding a political party, NPM then, and later on I joined YPP. I can say it's a very, very challenging journey, especially for a woman like me from the core north, from being a mom all my life, as in being like a normal housewife, not what we used to see women that as in join politics are not really responsible women according to what our society believe in. But I can say it's a very, very wonderful journey, though challenging, because a lot of things, people always undermine you, feel like you can't just be a timid or shy, normal woman, or you have to go out and do what men are doing. And I always used to tell the upcoming female politicians that you have to just do it your own way. You mustn't go out, do what men are doing. You can still do it right. As long as you define your scope, you know where you're going to. I don't think it's a very, very difficult journey, but we know that the political journey for everyone, even for men, is not quite easy. Of course, it's not easy, but when you define your scope, try to strike a balance between home, work, when to do meetings, when not to do meetings. I could remember during 2019 elections, I used to tell my principals that as long as my husband is home or he's not travel, or there are some hours that I cannot just go out. So it's all about defining what you want to do, how you want to do it, that let it tally with who you are as a mom, as a wife, as a representative of your own community and your own religion. So I don't think it's a very, very hard journey, because what you ask for is what you'll be given. I know people used to feel like women in politics are not supposed to be as in just normal moms or normal like people in the society, but we are normal people. But what you need to do is just to define your scope, define what you need to do, you need to work with at the time you need to work with them, and make sure that you do not cross any boundary that will come and backfire. So it's all about definition, and I thank God. I always just tell people when I see women crying out about the challenges they are facing in the political journey, I used to say, I can't really shout, I can't really say so much negative things, because the team I had then were very, very beautiful team, and it wasn't very, very challenging, because it's a normal thing. I present myself as a mom, as a wife, and that's how I'm being treated, with a lot of respect, and I'm always given what I deserve without me even asking, because sometimes it's more of the way you present yourself, not more as in when you present yourself as a leader, you are treated as that leader. A lot of people are older than me, but they still call me mama, and I really love it. That's the best name to be called. So politics is about how you present yourself, what you are willing to take, and that's what will be given to you.
Okay. I know that if you look at other climes like Europe, we've had Angela Merkel, we've had people that have been women leaders, women who have led the country in the UK. America has not been so fortunate. As a matter of fact, I just remembered now that Donald Trump has contested election 3 times. He won 2 women. He couldn't win 1 man and all of that. So women have actually come close to leading the American nation. But if we come here, let's talk about now that women are in governance, the ones that have found themselves in places of power, how they can consolidate and help other women come through. Because sadly, in the last less than 1 month, we've had 2 things happen to 2 women in politics. One was Mojisola Miranda, who was elected speaker, and in less than 50 days, she was forced to resign, and then the former speaker was reinstated, or is it forced to resign now, told to resign, but she said, what do you call it now, the supremacy of the party. And then we can talk about what happened in the Senate with Natasha Akpoti and all of that. So talk to us about when women now find themselves in places of authority, how can they consolidate to help bring other women on board?
We need to be team players. We need to not be too women, not to be too feminine. Because when you're when you're working with your own team, when you forget to present yourself as either a leader or representing that seat that you're standing or sitting on, you forget you're busy as in showing that you're a woman. I think you can't eat your cake and have it. I always used to tell women, you can't say you want to be treated as a woman, given all the privileges, showing all the whatsoever, sanguine whatsoever behavior, and still expect to be treated as that woman. No. You have to stand there with all your strength, with all it takes, do things. I know a woman can never be equal to a man, but do things the way things should be done, without prejudice, without you feeling like you're above the men there. Because as a woman, I always believe, even men that are in positions that I am older than sometimes, I used to give them that respect because they are men and they are taking care of women in their homes like me. So this respect should be, as it shouldn't be neglected. And if we find ourselves in leadership positions, we should try and empower younger generation to dream along, tell them how to do it so that they will not make the mistakes we made while coming up. I don't see anything anything difficult in trying to just be who you are as a woman. Let's take the case we're having now in the Senate. You know, sometimes if we try to overstep, if we try to like do it all, or we try to like show we're very, very important, whether we like it or not, as women, we have our own limitations. So whatever it is, the privileges are coming, as we want to take the privileges as women, and at the same time, we want to say we're more than the men. Even if it is not a kind of gender, shall I say, division or whatsoever, if you're in a place and the numbers are more than you have to play with a lot of tactics, with a lot of respect, with a lot of consideration. So I always used to tell men, never ever step beyond or chew what you cannot swallow. It's a very, very simple thing. I know a lot of men don't want to hear this. I wrote a lot of things about this Natasha's issue, but we are very, very sentimental. We're carried away by emotions because this is an issue of a seat and it's now turned into something. So we cannot just be friends or over-friendly with men and expect ourselves to be like treated differently. So when you want to be a leader as a woman, you have to stand within your own limit, never ever to match a toe that you're not supposed to match.
Well, I know that this debate is still out there, but for that second prayer, which says, well, if she apologizes, then the sentence in that sense can be reduced. Would you advise her to toe that path, or just continue in the path that she's been on?
Well, I believe in justice. Let there be justice, whatever it is, whatever it's not. Let it be treated with utmost justice. Let as in women, be treated right wherever they are. But I'm very, very sorry to say this to a lot of women. When you present yourself well, I've worked with a lot of men, nationally, internationally, men of a lot of different caliber, but when I hear women say, I'm sexually harassed, there is a lot of definition to that, or we need to redefine what it is, what a woman says, she's sexually harassed. And we have seen it in a lot of places in the world, not only in Nigeria, whereby women took advantage of them being women and raised such kind of accusations for other personal interests. We are supposed to talk to prevent or protect the dignity of other women. This, I feel, will raise a lot of questions. If at all a lady that's sitting in the Senate, being in that position, is now crying of being sexually harassed by a man. I know a lot of men that are allowing their women to come into the political game will be a little bit scared, because it's like, if at all people of such kind of positions are not protected, now a lot of fingers will be raised to women like us, that wherever we find ourselves, it's not about merit.
Right.
It's not about our hard work,
All right.
it will feel like we got there through the window. And I'm telling you, I know a lot of women that I respect politically, that they do their things, they work diligently, they are very, very devoted to this journey, and they don't come through the window. They do it right. So sometimes we just don't do it right. That's why we end up where we are.
So
that's just, it can be a little bit hurtful to women, but this is just the reality. You have to present yourself well for you to be respected well.
Are you saying that you've never been sexually harassed by men in this world of politics?
I've never had this throughout my journey. I've never. Let me even shock you. Not even sexually harassed. I've never been faced with a man throughout my political journey telling me he has interest in me, because I always present myself as a mom. That's just the reality.
Political activist, vice presidential candidate of the Young Progressives Party, YPP, in 2019 election, and CEO of Aquame Integrated Solutions, Umar Getso, thank you so much for your time. And once again, happy International Women's Day and month to you and other women out there.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, it's a whole lineup of amazing women on this show this morning, and we're just getting started. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Yes, our focus is still on women. We did tell you at the beginning of the program, they've taken over the show today. Yeah, and for good reasons. We want to celebrate them. We talked about those in politics. Let's talk about the people in the corporate spaces. And we've been joined in the program right here in our Lagos studio by Mrs. Victoria Wadoka, Corporate Communications, Public Affairs and Sustainability Lead at Nestle, Nigeria. Also joining us via Zoom from London is Bukola Okiji, Head of Projects, PMO, Nation Health Services. She's also the founder and lead tutor at ABP MX and project director, AFWL and Digital Communication Projects. A lot of titles, and I like it. We'll break down all of this and how much money is paid to. Just joking. Let's come to you, Victoria, on this particular day we're celebrating women. We've had you, and we it was literally like a master class the last time we spoke to you. But I do not want to drag both of you into politics, but there's no way we will have women and not comment on what's playing out in the country. So I'm going to ask a broad, an overview kind of question. What do you see that has happened in the Senate and what your reaction is?
Well, that's a very interesting question in the sense that it seems to be a microcosm of what Nigeria is like. And unfortunately, it might be the same picture across Africa and globally at some levels. There is the will, I think, there is the will to include women in politics, in business, in the corporate world. But there is also a resistance that comes from long-held beliefs around what women should do and what women should not do, or what women can do and what women cannot do. In this case of Natasha and the Senate President, the important question to ask is, what is stopping us from investigating it properly? That way we can see who's right, who's wrong. Let justice be done, and let justice be seen to be done. I think that's what's important. Yes, there is a lot of pro-Natasha activists and anti-Natasha speeches that I'm hearing out there. But the important thing is, only a person who goes through a thing can tell you about it. I've been in the corporate world. I could tell you some stories. I'm sure a number of women can tell you some stories. But the important thing is there protection? Is there a system? Is there a process for finding out what really happened and what is going on right now. I think that's what I want to say. It's important that justice is done and justice is seen to be done, because it's setting a precedent. Tomorrow it could be anybody. There is a precedent, and we need to address it, and address it very intentionally.
Let's come to you, Bukola, on this one before we get to the corporate issues. People have said that what played out, for the record, the Senate actually has passed their verdict on parliamentary conduct. Nothing has been done on sexual harassment allegation. So people have said this kind of it has a feeler of why victims or alleged victims don't come out to talk about their harassment and all of that. In fact, women are even divided on the issue as well. So just like I asked her, I want to find out your general comments on this issue before we get to corporate conversations.
Thank you so much. I think Miss Victoria actually covered it. There are some cultural and systemic barriers for Nigerian women and also for women across the globe in terms of what we face in leadership, especially in male-dominated spaces. And with regards to what's happened to Senator Natasha, it's quite sad, and it's quite prominent that it actually happened during International Women's Month, because I think this is an opportunity for us to actually share what we are facing, not just in the corporate world, but in the systematic system in terms of what's happening with leadership and why women are seeming to want to break the glass ceiling. I think Ms. Victoria actually covered it. I think we just want justice, and this is actually setting a precedent for what and how women will be treated in a workplace.
So let's just dive right into the workplace, and I'll come back to Madam Victoria in the studio. So you've had your experience or experiences, and I'm talking over decades now of experiences in the corporate segment of the economy. I imagine things have gotten better over the years. And we're also trying to see how we can borrow from the corporate world and put in governance, because whatever happens in governance will still affect the corporate world, because the policies being made will affect you eventually. And if you don't have representation, whatever policies happen there will not seem representative, at least eventually. So what can we borrow from the corporate space for governance and for the society at large? Is it that the corporate world just realized, wait a minute, women can do this better, right? And if we even want to make more money, let's get more women in. So it was an existential issue, and they just woke up and said, if we want to survive, we need to do what is right. Did the corporate world get to that point? And is it something we can borrow for the other sectors of our lives?
Okay, so I'll say to that there have been studies conducted, and I think the one, which is why I kept this to read the notes here, a recent study by McKinsey, which showed that when women are involved, the companies who promote gender balance and involve women in their businesses actually do 25% better than others, right? We don't have such data in Nigeria, right? But globally, this is what is seen to be the case. So many organizations globally have signed non-discriminatory policies. They've agreed, they've made policies, they've created processes, non-discriminatory processes to ensure that there is equity. But what do we see? We still see that women don't seem to make it all the time to the CEO levels, to the C-suite, right? You find women entering the workplace. There are some things, and I think that we will discuss them in the course of this morning, that prevent women from getting to the next level and to the next level as quickly as a man would. There are some cultural issues, there's some access to support, there's also the reproductive issues, okay, because women want to have children, you know, they shouldn't do one and not the other. So some of these things limit women's ability to climb the corporate ladder and get to the C-suites as fast as possible. But is there progress being made? Yes. There have been campaigns. The He for She is an example, for instance. So I think we're making progress. There's more awareness. And I think that we're achieving more parity when it comes to wages, right? And we're trying to make the workplaces more transparent. The employment, the recruitment processes, we're trying to make them more transparent. And we're trying to look at merit, not gender. That is important. But what corporate organizations have done as well is that they've looked at the system and seen that, look, this is cute, and if we don't do anything differently, we're not going to come out of this. I mean, think about it. Data that is available now shows that if we continue at this pace, it will take us another 5 generations to achieve gender parity. 5 generations of women, that's my daughter's daughter, to get to gender parity if we continue at this pace. So if you ask me, is progress being made? I'll answer, well, kind of. So we're taking action, and maybe that's why this year's theme is around accelerating action. We need to look at the areas where we've made progress. There are policies that have been put in place. There is governance. There are laws that have been promulgated and all of that. We just need to work on them. There are pacts that corporates have signed onto. There are nations who have signed onto the Non-Discriminatory Act as well, and we just need to implement those actions. I think that's where we need to go.
I need to also know, on behalf of the audience, what parity looks like. And maybe I'll go to Anne on this. You can also chime in eventually. What does parity really look like? Because for some people, they'll say, I've tried now, I've given the little 25% or 30% I can, right? And some will say, well, it should be more than that. Even the 25 or 30% is not even being achieved by a lot of organizations. So what does parity really look like in the context of competence? And I know this is a debate we're going to have all day. In the context of competence, and in fact, people that are available, some believe it means call them from inside their rooms, that come and occupy this position, right? But I'd like you to speak to what parity means in the context of all of those other factors that have been raised time and again. Anna.
Thank you. Okay.
Sorry, Bukola. Apologies. I need to get Anna out of my...
There we go. It's okay. For me, I feel it actually starts with the culture in the organization. It starts from outside the organization and inside the organization. And I love that Ms. Victoria touched on some of the policies that have now been introduced and being put inside the system. However, it has to go throughout the organization, from the very top, the executives, down to the middlemen, down to, the employees. For me, parity looks like people holding spaces, women being allowed, not even allowed, being given the space to speak up, women being given the confidence. Women have confidence already, and women are empowered, but expanding that for them to be able to hold spaces, to be able to share ideas, to be able to be listened to. Culturally and in social norms as well. Just like Ms. Victoria mentioned, in terms of traditional beliefs, those are still limited for women in terms of women roles, in terms of domestic spaces, and it does make it difficult to transition sometimes in society and into the corporate space. Parity for me means a woman being in a boardroom, being given that space to talk about and to be able to share ideas and not to be shut down, and to amplify a voice. And that's why it's very, very important that we have male allies supporting us through this movement. I mean, this movement has been going on for decades and decades and years. And I think, yes, we are making progress, just like Ms. Victoria mentioned, we are making progress, but I feel like now in this day and age, I would expect, and I'm so grateful that on Saturday, everybody was amplifying the importance of women holding spaces in the society. However, there is still a large gap between us talking about it and the action. And that's why I love the theme for this year, which is accelerating action, meaning that, yes, we've put in those policies. We're happy that these things are, are being spoken about. But what about the actions in the corporate places? It isn't just about creating policies, but actually actioning out those policies so women can be seen, they can be heard, and they can feel the confidence and be given that space to truly thrive. I mean, currently, if we're talking about education and we're talking about, the economic disparities, there are 60% of out-of-school children in Nigeria that are girls. There are limited access to opportunities. Women also earn less than 23% than men in the workspace in Nigeria. I don't want to talk about what's happening in the global space, because I believe that is moving along. We're talking about it and they're creating policies. So I'm really, really passionate about this space, and I want male allies to understand in the corporate space that when they see a woman in the boardroom, that they give her that space to be able to express her ideas, to be able to express her opinions, and to be listened to and not to be mansplained to. That makes sense.
Madam Victoria, let's talk about something both of you have highlighted, and I'm going to go to her in a moment, and that has to do with, let's use a central word, pay parity on one hand. The other hand is availability. It is not a woman's fault that she will get married, she will have children at those times she may not be at the office, because this seems to affect how she's eventually scored or seen to be available when she's needed at the places of work, wherever it is at the end of the day. So if we take that issue of availability and what nature does in terms of playing its role on the woman and speaking to corporate, how do we marry them such that we can begin to make a case for women?
I'd like to, just add a little bit around what you're talking about, parity. Parity is about looking at representation, right? If we think about the fact that we're almost at par, 50%, 50%, 50% female, 50% male, right? Almost, just some fractions that make the difference. Let's think about representation in every sphere, politics, corporate world, socially, representation. Now, let's talk about equity as well. So for a long time, women have been relegated to certain roles that were thought to be, well, gender sensitive, right? One of them, of course, is childbearing, right? Could you provide the support that women need to re-enter the workspace after they've had children? Must they leave the workspace because they've had children? Can you provide the support they need? So there's access to that support. In the organization I work for right now, we do have some support, right? So you have the baby feeding rooms, you have the creches, so you can bring your child to work and go feed your child when you have to. So that's the support system. And because of that, many people who work in my organization do not have to leave work because they've had kids, right? So do women have access to that support? Is that support, is that equity? You give everybody what they need to achieve what they can achieve. Now, she's talked about, Bukola has talked about how many young children, girls, are out of school. How do they even begin to compete in the corporate world? Are they taught financial literacy? Do they know that they can aspire to be engineers, doctors? Do they know that they can aspire? Are they given the opportunity to aspire? So the important thing is to ensure that in this world that we live in this economy that we live in, that we're giving every opportunity to everyone who is a member of this community to contribute to the growth, because only one part cannot do it. Now, equity is about the fact that women need access to education. They need access to safe spaces. They need access to the support systems they need when they're raising kids so they can stay in the workspace. So providing that support is the first thing that we can begin to do as a nation to create the opportunities for women to achieve their optimum potential. Because do we have potential? Yes. Recently, we see that many financial institutions have started to appoint women. Have the banks failed? I don't think so.
Chairman and MDs.
Voila. They're moving forward. If you look at the story of Fidelity Bank and what progress has been made since the current MD took over. So it's not as if we're failing, right? So give everybody the opportunity they need. It's about equity. A curious thing happens. Like now we're talking about Women's Day, encouraging women development and all of that. Men are beginning to say, what about us? What about us? And I always say, look at the data. Data never lies. Look at the data. If you look at the data, then you stop feeling sentimental about it. Because come to think about it, they're your sisters, your wives, your cousins, your colleagues at work. This is what we're talking about. Behind every data, behind every situation, behind every thing that we want to talk about, there's a story. There is a person, there's a human behind that. And if we talk about human rights, every human has a right to aspire to go as high as they want to go. And nothing should stop them and nothing should limit them. Everybody should get what they need.
Bukola, Bukola, let me come to you as well on, I just want practical, she's giving some practical example. Another practical example I'd like you to maybe give us a practical example on this particular issue. It has to do with male allies without being misconstrued. Because in politics, in corporate places, you need the support of the men who are quote unquote in the majority to be able to access certain maybe levels in those offices. Because I don't think the competence of women is in doubt, but some of these structures that are in place that limits women to be able to live to their full potential is also a problem. So how can women have male allies without being misconstrued?
That's a very good question. I'm very blessed that I work in a system where it is very, very aware, and we're very aware. The men around us are very aware of this gender parity. And we love that we are utilizing this space with women supporting one another, and we're demanding representation in decision-making, tables. And, in terms of male allies, gender inclusion is not just a woman's issues. And I love Ms. Victoria talking about the representation, talking about the women that are in society that often men do not, I don't want to generalize, but don't see, starting from their mothers, starting from their sisters, starting from, with their daughters as well. What does society look like for those women around you? We need to start this societal transformation. Men actually must start being active, supporting, advocating for gender support, gender equality. It's very, very important. So what does male look like? In as much as I talk about holding space, it's about having those uncomfortable conversations with those women that are around you, having a conversation in terms of what do they like, what would they like, how would they like them to support? Like, take for instance, a couple of years ago, 4 years ago, I decided that I wanted to do a conference, a virtual conference during COVID 4 years ago on a social media platform. And we brought around 40 women just to talk about the issues that are concerning women in society. We got approximately up to like nearly a dozen men talking about how it affects their wife, how it affects their children. That's where we start from. And we did the same, and we've been doing the same for the past 4 years, just creating space, not just talking about it, but putting action into place and letting men understand, because I think what it is the ignorance of it, that they don't really understand how society see women, how we try to push ourselves. And if we just get that extra push from them, it would really go a very, very long way.
So let me try to put, not men on the spot now, but let me try to flip the script a bit. From your experience now, for the systems, and okay, don't let me say men now, for the systems that seem to be averse to having women take the lead or encouraging women, supporting them, what do you sense is the reason? Do you think it's a threat? Do you think it's insecurity? Do you think it's lack of information? Do you think it's spiritual? What exactly do you think is wrong here? Because as some say, it looks like data supports it, right? Or at least you can't keep doing the same things and expect a different result. So why not try this? But from your experience, what do you think is principally responsible for those systems, not men now? Those systems?
No, I like to say that in my experience, I've had, I have a great support system that includes men and women. So I can't tell you that personally, I feel like it's all men. No, I don't feel so. But the few people that I've had conversations with, I find that to a great level is cultural. It's just, this is the way we've always done it. Why do you want to change things? And that resistance to change, right? And Bukola said it very well, is the perception of who a woman is supposed to be. So you've grown up, or you've been taught that this is the way it's supposed to be. But if you see men who grew up in a different environment, where their mothers taught them differently, their fathers taught them differently, they feel differently. So I have great friends. I mean, most of my greatest allies in the corporate world are men, right? And they see, they understand, right? So the thing is, I've also had a very interesting experience. So I was sitting in a cab, and a woman crossed the street. I mean, she shouldn't have passed at that time, I understand. And the comments the man made took me aback. And he didn't know who the woman was. He had no idea where she was coming from. And he said, that's how you women, generalizing, and said, oh, I have your type at home. So it's that generalization, it's that cultural thing that is a problem. And the only way to solve a cultural problem is by sensitization, because sometimes there's an unconscious bias, right? And we talk about that. We talk about having emotional intelligence, even in the workplace, to look at it. Sometimes there's tokenism, right? Or let's just put women there. And that's something that we say absolutely no to. Don't just put us there. Give us the opportunity. Help us, allow us to compete on the same grounds. And then let's win if we win. I don't want to be there because, okay, I'm just a token, right? So I think that to a great extent, it is cultural. And the only way to do it, I mean, or to come through that, is to have those difficult conversations and to create more awareness. If it's in the forefront, then you can begin to address it and really look at the data and not the sentiments.
Let's wind down. Let's come to Bukola. I think we've talked about men helping women, supporting women. Let's talk about women supporting women. I would like your comment on that, because with the Senator Natasha Akpoti's stories, we've seen women comment, and you're just listening. Okay, exactly where this is coming from. Some have said, don't be too emotive. That place is not for this and that for that. Some have even started to argue about, or whether the people that are more attractive are more prone to sexual. I've heard all shade, and these are coming from women, literally. So talk about women supporting women. Are women really supporting women in corporate spaces?
I strongly believe that there are women that support women. I am sitting here because a woman has supported me to get to where I am today. I am also blessed to have male allies as well. Yes, there's this notion that women don't support women, and I'm living proof that women do support women. I've been in spaces where they do that. I feel like the reason or the notion of that quote, that women don't support women, is yet another form of, I don't want to say the word propaganda, to pit women against women. I think if you look in a corporate space, there are spaces where women do actually want another woman to win. I think sometimes we are pitted against each other, but I think we also need to recognize what the goal is. What is your goal? And also realize that in this life, you can't really walk alone. You need support. So with regards to what's happening with Senator Natasha, I feel if you listen and you read well, the majority are supporting Natasha. And for those, and also one thing you also need to recognize is the errors of those that are speaking against Natasha in terms of maybe social construct, social, environment. The majority that might be speaking against her might not truly understand the nature or the situation that's at hand, how it will affect their daughters, how it will affect their granddaughters to come through. And they're only thinking about the present, because the truth of the matter is, whatever does happen with regards to the full story being coming out, the most important thing is that we are actually talking about it, and I'm really pleased about that.
Absolutely. It's an ongoing conversation. We'll continue to spotlight on women and celebrate you as you continue to progress and break these barriers. Bukola Okiji, Head of Projects, PMO, National Health Service, Project Director, AFWL and Digital Community Projects, Founder and Lead Tutor at ABPMX. A lot of titles, by the way.
Thank you.
Victoria Wadoka, Corporate Communications, Public Affairs and Sustainability Lead at Nestle Nigeria, right here in our Lagos city. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming on the program. We appreciate it and wish you happy International Women's Day.
Thank you.
Keep winning.
And you too. Happy International Women's Day to you.
Thank you. That
to all the women in your life.
Yes, all the women in our lives. Thank you. All right, take a quick break. When we come back, and we'll bring you up to speed with what's going on in the city of Port Harcourt. Join us again.
So let's switch gears now and head over to Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital. The stage is set. Well, it's been set for years now, really, but this is another episode in all of the political drama that has been playing out in Rivers State. And we're joined live by correspondent Charles Opperum as we count down to that, what I call a proposed meeting now between the governor and the members of the House of Assembly. Charles, it's about 1 hour, 44 minutes to that proposed meeting. Does it look like it would happen? What is the mood in the city, Charles?
With that letter from the Rivers State House of Assembly, that letter from the Secretary to the state government inviting the Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly and other members of the Assembly to a meeting with the governor. Now, if you remember, that letter dated 7th of March actually came in, it was leaked to the public on Sunday, and part of the letter, 4 items were on the letter. including, one, the provision of a befitting space for the State Assembly to sit. Okay. The second one, of course, is the clearing of all salaries, allowances, and remuneration due to members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. And the third one had to do with presentation of the budget as requested or as ordered by the Supreme Court of Nigeria. And then the fourth item was any other matter that had to do with moving the state forward and charting a new course. Now, that is on the one hand. Do not forget that on the other hand, the Rivers State House of Assembly had already fixed today for a sitting. Last week, they gave an ultimatum to the research chairman and his commissioners, 7 of them, 2 of which we saw their resignation letters in the public. So that sitting is supposed to happen by 10 a.m. today as well. Now, it had been scheduled before the governor's letter actually came. But I can tell you this, that sitting is going ahead. There is no confirmation from the Rivers State House of Assembly at this moment that the letter from the governor is going to be honored at the time. I know for a fact that the sitting, which was scheduled for today, is going ahead as planned. Kayode.
So let's be clear, because this communication issue has been a problem in terms of correspondence, or whether it's defective or effective correspondence. Remember what played out as to the issue of transmitting the letter to the government to come and present the budget. The government said they had not seen it. The House said we've sent it, even showed proof that they've sent it, and we saw it in the media. Now we've had this situation. Has the House seen the letter or received the letter from the SSG as we speak? So let's begin from there.
I cannot confirm that. I tried to speak to the speaker yesterday, but he did not. His number wasn't connecting throughout yesterday until much later. And then his request was that, oh, we are going ahead with our sitting tomorrow. But he didn't say anything about having received the letter. But if you remember, during the last sitting, the speaker said he accused the governor pretty much of having instructed his security, the security people at the government house, of preventing. He had accused the governor of instructing them to prevent any letter or any correspondence coming from the House of Assembly. So the last letter, yes, indeed, there was some controversy whether or not that letter had gotten there. The Speaker's principal secretary told me that the courier got there and was sent back when they discovered the content of the letter. So what they did was to publish in different newspapers. So what they do now basically is, whenever they have correspondence to the government house, apart from sending it via courier delivery, they publish it on the pages of 4 different newspapers. And sometimes when we do the reports as well, we also scroll the letters as well. This is their way of guaranteeing that it will be seen by officials of the Rivers State government. So answering your question directly, I cannot confirm whether or not the Assembly have officially received that communication from the Secretary to the State government. Jeff.
So just to be clear, the State Assembly is going ahead with plenary. What time is it starting?
Oh, officially, plenary starts at 10 a.m. Which is the same time that the governor's letter, stipulated 10 a.m. for the invitation as well.
Exactly.
So it's a clash.
So it looks like, as you've said, that the lawmakers will not be going for that meeting. But maybe you can give us feelers from inside the State Assembly. What has been the maybe reactions or the whispers within the corridors regarding that letter? Some had seen the letter as peace at last. So finally, they're going to come to the table and the lawmakers will be willing to have a sit down with the governor regarding these issues. But some said no. They had given him 48 hours to, represent the budget and all of that, and that didn't happen. So they might not want to attend this meeting. But speak to us about the mood within the State Assembly, the whispers you're hearing regarding this invitation, that is.
Interestingly, I'm not even in front of the Assembly. I'm in front of the State Government House. I will be going from here to the State Assembly, to cover the plenary. But I did meet like 1 or 2 of the Assembly members yesterday in Port Harcourt here. And when I raised the issue of the letter, they just batted the question away. And they said, don't worry. Tomorrow you will get an idea of what we are going to do and whether or not we are going to be honoring that invitation. So there was no clear-cut answer. It seems like it's some kind of strategic ambiguity. They don't want to be clear about whether or not they've seen the letter or whether or not they will be honoring that invitation from the governor. So just time will tell. In a couple of hours from now, this is 8:22 a.m. So in the next 1 hour and 35 minutes thereabouts, plenary should start, and then we'll know what the next move is going to be.
So we'll keep tabs with you. Charles Oporuma, correspondent, reporting live from Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital. Thank you for the update, and we'll definitely be getting back to you in a matter of hours or even less, depending on how things turn up. Thank you very much, Charles.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day.
Well, we hope it turns out to be a great day, but there you have it. Charles confirming that plenary is going ahead in Rivers State. Jeffrey, as people that saw this as peace at last might want to maybe look again.
Yeah, that was the first question I asked last night about peace at last, but clearly it looks like peace is a bit far away. We hope it's not as far as we expect it to be. As simple as the letter, who signed up the letter is even generating a bit of controversy. They said, given what has played out, writing to the speaker, supposed to have been signed up by the governor, not the SSG. I don't know, I've never worked with public service, so I had to ask, how does it work there? And so now you're seeing the situation. They have fixed that hearing with the RESEC chairman today. Yeah. And apparently, we don't know whether they are going to honor the invitation or they will correspond back to the governor to say, we will have another time to come. We do not know, but all eyes and ears are on Rivers State just to find out what plays out. But we hope that this should be the beginning of peace. Whether or not, we do not know.
Let's take a quick break now while we wait to find out what's playing out in Rivers State. And when we return, we have more women conversation. Yes, they're taking over the whole show today. Don't mind Rivers State, or mind it. We'll be right back. So let's get back on track, right? And this particular conversation will interest you because we're bringing real stories to you, people who have met challenges and have been able to surmount those challenges. Because it's tricky to just have that, the phantom idea, you can do it, you can surmount challenges without real people who can tell you their story. And you can say, okay, if you can do it, then I can do it. We're joined on the program this morning by Ms. Stella Fubara, Managing Director, Del York Development Company, Nigeria. She's right here with us in our Lagos studio. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Nice to meet you guys.
We're living Rivers State politics, and we're talking...
She looks very Nigerian.
Hey, it's the name of the game. Boost our country.
There you go. And I think we can start from there, right? How or what Nigeria is missing out on by not... You know what this question is about, and I'm not trying to blame anybody. I just want to make this as general as possible. So we'll look at this from a nation or a national perspective. What are we missing out on by not involving women as much as we ought to, by not protecting them in areas where women are not protected? What are we really missing out? What's the opportunity cost?
They always say two heads are better than one. And the more perspective you have when you are solving a problem, the better your solution will be. So by missing out on the inclusion of the female voice, you lose a perspective, and which means that your solution is probably not catering to the entire community. And the community, whether we like it or not, is made of men and women. And I also believe that the lack of inclusion probably can be traced back to family lifestyle. I come from a home where my father made it perfectly clear that his sons are presidents, but so are his daughters. He raised us all, and we watched it in real time with my mother. He always believed there need to be two breadwinners in the house, because if something happens to one, the other needs to be able to carry the flag. And so today, both my parents have PhDs, and they raised us, the girls, We turned out to be a little bit more louder than our brothers as a result, but they raised us really on the same platform.
Amazing. And let's get to your story now. I just wanted to start from that broad perspective. So tell us about your story. You're doing great stuff, right? And people take it for granted that it just happens. You look good, you speak well, so hey, it's a no-brainer, right? That's where she's meant to be. But it didn't just happen, did it?
No, it didn't just happen. You really have to be intentional about everything you do. And again, that intentionality starts from childhood, starts from your parents. You've got to be intentional about how you raise your children. We're getting better at it, and this is across the world, not just Nigeria perspective. We're getting better at being intentional about how we raise our children. But it's all about intentionality. And the quicker you find your purpose and your intention, the easier it is to find your journey. I won't say I found my intention very early in life. I was always a tomboy. If the boys are climbing trees, I'm climbing a tree. And I wanted to be a pilot because I thought it would be fun. And when that didn't work out, I said, maybe I'll be a flight attendant. It'd be really glamorous and get very close. Right. That didn't work out either. Then I decided I wanted to be an electrical engineer. That didn't work out either. Clearly. So can you see how many missteps along the way? And this is real life. And then I was blessed to have a godfather who said, you know what? It's time to find you. And he put me on a path in the business, accounts, and finance world. And here I am today. But that's probably not even the end of that story. Yes, I did the business, the finance, and accounting. And I started out with Deloitte & Touche in the United States. But I didn't like it. I got bored. Just looking at numbers and spreadsheets and calculations, it wasn't my calling. So I pivoted again, went to work for Walt Disney World, still using the financial and accounting, but in an operational sense. So I was close to the hustle and bustle. It wasn't about how much does a Mickey Mouse costume cost, but what is it used for? What's the sustainability? What's the planning around it? Exactly. Yeah. And I stuck with hospitality and tourism and entertainment, infrastructure development. Went to work for Wyndham, the hotel group, which at the time probably still is one of the largest just because of their expansion style. So it became intentional to work in what I had passion for. If you go to work in a field that you do not have passion for, it is work. But if you are employed in a field that you have passion for, it becomes a journey. And every step of the way is a new adventure in it.
Your story is quite interesting, and there's a lot more lesson to learn, and I want you to teach the young girls that are watching you now. And one of the things you said there are a lot of missteps. Perhaps somebody will say it's just opportunities that allowed you to eventually find your path. Talk to us about, maybe talk to a young girl who is watching now and has heard your story and said, how can they find their path early so that if they find their path early, say when they're 15, 18, by the time they're 30, they're already over 10 years in an industry?
To all the young girls watching this program and mothers of young girls, I would say to you that do not plan to be me. Do not plan to be an Oprah. Plan to be you with the passion that drives you. And with that plan in mind, focus on what you are passionate about. And remember that it doesn't happen overnight. It is a journey. It's a 6-hour flight to London. You can't go to bed and wake up in 2 seconds and you're there. Everything is a journey. The youth today really expect things to happen fast. They look at the billionaires and they say, I want to be a billionaire. Do you understand the journey that that person took to get there? Be ready to put in the work and be ready to learn along the way. One of the things that I find most concerning about with the youth today is everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Well, if everybody goes to be an entrepreneur without going through the corporate world or working for someone else, what have you learned along the way that will make you that sustainable entrepreneur when you get there? You know, years ago, it used to be that being an apprentice was the way to your future. And it taught a lot of things. Some people were apprentices for 5 years or 10 years, but they learned along the way. One of the professions today that is very good at nurturing and teaching people along the way is actually the culinary profession. There isn't a chef today that did not work their way up and learn things along the way. It makes them better. It makes them a better business person. It makes them make less mistakes. So for all the aspiring entrepreneurs, I'm not saying kill your dreams, but plan a path that you can learn along the way and make less mistakes. And don't get to be 30 and lose all the money you miraculously made as a content creator when you were 26.
I love that. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that as much because they're like, well, that's your own journey. My journey doesn't have to be. In fact, that's why I'm learning from you so I can just take a shortcut and get there. But let's talk about the strength of a woman. I know some people just see the strength of a woman as beauty, femme fatale and all of that. You can get away with anything, which is also a strength in that sense, just knowing how to use it in a good way. So what are the strengths of women that women themselves maybe overlook or take for granted or just think it's not a strength? Let me look for other strengths.
I really like this angle that you have broached. Male and female, we have our different strengths and they're supposed to complement each other. Just by nature of our continents, we're good nurturers. You can nurture in the workplace. We are good at multitasking.
Oh, yeah.
You can multitask in the workplace. Take those things, and we actually think, oh, well, now maybe I'm gonna get sexist, but I actually think if there were more women in not just corporate power, but country power, that there will be less friction. Now, men might not agree that, that women like to argue, but my best colleagues or staff that report to me have always been women. I don't get along well with I don't get along too well with men. Maybe because I'm too vocal. I have a strong personality. These are the things that men tell me. Stella, you're very vocal. Stella, you have a strong personality. Like, that's a sin. I would hope that.
And you're like, I'll give you more.
and then I go back to God and I'm like, okay, Heavenly Father, teach me how to speak calmly, to calm down my passion.
And then the next day, boom.
And then I have someone telling me, no, we like your passion. I'm like, you can't have it both ways.
Choose.
Yeah, you have to choose. But for everyone, especially women, focus on your strengths, not your weaknesses. Do you really have a weakness? A weakness, I only think of a weakness in terms of physical capabilities, not mental capabilities. You don't have a weakness in your mental capabilities. You have areas which you can strengthen and you can grow. Or guess what? You recognize that it's not a strength for you, push it to the side and focus on what is.
A lot of lessons for a lot of young people. Let's talk about the space you play in, which has to do with capacity development and how much you're doing to ensure that women get that critical mass to be able to achieve that thing you're talking about in terms of having more women in spaces.
Human capacity development is very dear to me, and as a woman, I focus on that area for women. I belong to several, what I would like to call tribes. And what is a tribe? It is a group of people formed for a particular reason. Sometimes it might be culture, it might be sports, it might be work. In this case, I belong to several tribes that have different focuses in order to develop human capacity. Let's talk about the work. I believe my job in Del York is as a tribe member of Del York, and our job is to grow human capacity in the creative sector and what we are calling the skill industry environment. We believe, looking at the globe today, that once the human capacity in the creative sector in Nigeria and Africa is developed, we will begin to take part in the over 600 billion United States dollar market in the creative sector. Right now, Nigeria occupies less than 2% of that amount. We need to develop our human capacity in this area. What is the creative sector? It's not just film. It's not just directing. It's not just content creating. It's the behind the scenes. The people who are filming us right now as we are talking, there's a skill set to be able to produce pixel quality images in animation. Animation has taken over the whole world. And so also is Del York, not just for Nigeria, but for Africa, with our YAPI program. Right. We are building human capacity in so many sectors, hospitality and tourism, with our training, with our development. So that's human capacity on the work front. Then there's human capacity of our young women. I belong to a group called the Kilali Tribe. And it's 13 women. We were opportune to attend Ibuka Washuka's women's conference-ship in Dubai about 4 years ago. And we got together and we decided, you know what? There are a lot of strong women in Nigeria, and most of them are based in Lagos. So let's reproduce what is taking place in Lagos to the rest of Nigeria. And so what the Lagos powerful women are doing, we are trying to do in the Niger Delta
other parts
area.
of the country.
Exactly.
And I think that's really brilliant. We need to have another sit down and talk about the creative industry. I mean, you just talked about people behind the scenes. How well do we have representation there as well? But we need to anchor at this point. We have to thank you so much. It's been very interesting listening to you and understanding the strengths of women yet again. I think we need this reminder time and again. We're speaking with Ms. Stella Fubara, who is Managing Director, Del York Development Company, Nigeria. I know we promised to leave Rivers, but somehow Rivers just keeps following us. Thank you for your time on the show at this moment.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Welcome. Well, let's take a quick break, yet another one, and when we return, we have more for you, and you don't want to miss this segment. So stay with us, we'll be right back.
Welcome back. Let's talk to three ladies who will be bringing us up to speed as to what they're doing as far as International Women's Day is concerned. Komolafe is a premium brand elevator, creative strategist, brand growth strategist, as well as business coach. Tosin Akinsulure is a healthcare and growth strategist, as well as Sandra Jibola, founder, CEO of BAI Empowerment Foundation. Thank you, ladies, for coming on the program. Let's start with you, Akwayami. I'm curious about some of the things you do. So maybe before I come to you, because of some of the things I've highlighted here, some of the questions I'll ask you, but Sandra, let's come to you as well on some of the things you do as well. So let's begin with what you do and why it's important that the world pays attention to women.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. I've always understood that women, we have a force and we have the power to do a lot of things. And if we can bring ourselves to a point where we agree in one accordance that we want this, and that's why my foundation particularly is about trying to empower women and also trying to make sure that we change the narrative that women are not capable of doing a lot of things. So the foundation generally has been able to make sure that we try to push this narrative, and we are very, very passionate about it. I personally am very, very passionate about this moving force because I know that we women, we have a lot to deliver in the society. So if we're being given the chance, we can actually move mountains.
Amazing.
Let's also, I think it's a similar question because we've spoken to a lot of women. And one of the things that you can draw as a line amongst the ladies we've spoken to, whether right here in the studio or outside, is it looks like they are always trying to make a point, trying to fight for a space. I don't know whether to call that offensive or defensive, but how does it feel having that level of pressure, and how do you cope? Tosin, that's for you.
Sorry, can you take the question again? I didn't hear you from the
I said, talking to a lot of women, we found out that it feels like most of the time, women are always trying to fight for their sport at all times. I don't know whether to call it offensive or defensive, but how does it feel being a woman and having to be in that space where you always maybe attempting to say, look, I can do this just as well as any other man can do?
Okay, thank you very much for that. I do not think, so personally, I'm going to talk from a personal point of view. I do not try to fight for something as a woman. Rather, what I focus on, and I believe that most women that are self-aware and have come to a place of honing their strength, what they try to do is to always put their best foot forward. As a woman, I agree there are certain societal limitations, stereotypes that tend to box us and not allow us, become the best version of ourselves or explore our full potential. And that most times could be a systemic problem. For instance, in the workplace, you find out that there could be some stereotypes, right, attached to the woman that would not allow her, for instance, speak up freely in a toxic work environment. It could also be self-imposed limitations. And it's been found out that many times, most women are afraid to speak up. They're afraid to also hone their strengths. So I'm going to say that for a woman that has gone on the journey of self-development, a journey of understanding her strengths, and also working on the areas of improvement, there wouldn't be any need to fight to be seen, or fight to fulfill purpose, or fight to grow through the ranks in leadership, right? I recognize the place of some systemic problems that could lead to a need for you to fight through sometimes, right? But generally, for a woman that is focused on her strength, definitely fighting for what belongs to you wouldn't be a problem. However, in a toxic environment, and that's where there is need for women to support other women. In a toxic environment, then the HR as well, or the people and culture, needs to also create an enabling environment alongside the management team to ensure that women are well represented. Globally, 28.2% of management position in the workplace is occupied by women. This is by UN Women 2023. This is far, 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 far low compared to what it should be, right? And this is where the place of management, leadership, and the place of the people and culture units comes in to ensure that every woman is well represented and there is equity in the workplace.
There you go. Let's head over to Okwemi Kolawole now, who joins us via Zoom. And I'd like you to speak to, because this is also about brand, the brand woman, or the woman brand. Okwemi, just to be clear, can you hear me?
Okay. Can you hear me? Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Okwemi Kolawole. So I want you to speak to the brand of women as it is right now in Nigeria, and what it ought to be. What are some of the, I'm looking at this from a brand perspective now, what are some of the things that eat away the brand of women, that ideal brand of women that we have, and perhaps the factors that are responsible for that?
Okay, you mean the challenges the women face in terms of positioning themselves, right?
Yes, but I'm coming at you from the brand perspective, since you're premium brand elevator. So let's elevate the current brand of women.
Okay, good morning once again. Thanks for having me here. I'm so grateful. All right, concerning the question, there are a lot affects women in positioning themselves the way they are. The first factor is the environmental factor. I'm sorry to say a lot of concentration are more on the male gender than women in terms of helping them to discover themselves, their talent, or helping them to pronounce their talent, or positioning it in a great platform. Though there are a lot of things that are coming up, programs that are coming up that are women-friendly now, but sincerely the environment, we still need to work on that. Like where I am now in the northern region, we are still working excessively in that aspect. So another thing is the commitment in the house. I know women, when we go into marriage, I see the marriage as a work on its own. You are busy up and down, especially when you are in the stage of nursing your child or your children, taking care of the house. Sometimes our attention seems to be divided. And there's this kind of emotional stress and all that. Sometimes it does feel, okay, let me leave this before I start pursuing my career. And sometimes it's used to have some delays. So those are some of the challenges. And the last thing I will still say is, I think the information in terms of branding aspect is not well circulated for now. Because a lot of people, they think, oh, let me talk from the entrepreneurial aspect. They focus on the money, but they do not really position themselves the way they should position themselves. So that's one of the sensitization my brand we are up to these days, because people seems to be distracted. They are looking for money, but they are not really. I don't mean they have followed the right protocol, the right structure, the right system. It will have been more better, and people will listen to them effectively. Let
me come in quickly here. Very important point you've made. Let me bring this to Sandra right here in our Lagos studio. So we're trying to break the conversation down, and she said quite a number of things. First, the environment, and then she's also in a particular environment, their peculiarities, and also I know we can speak about our environment, but there are certain constants, right, across board. So there's a need for education. Right, knowledge. There's a need for skills as well for those who want to pursue that. There's need for mentoring for women. So women who have gone ahead, they've seen that this is where there are potholes, so this is the route you should take. There's also the conversation around financial empowerment. So it's a mix, really, and some of those things put women at a disadvantage. Education, the skills, they say, I know you're a woman, you can't learn this skill because, you know, you're wearing a skirt, and I can't wait, no, you're a woman, do this. So how do these things come together, want to form a challenge, but more importantly is how should we retool either our communities, our mindset to ensure that women also get these advantages that have been disadvantages to them?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question, because it's really dear to me about this particular thing, because I got to understand that, you know, women are a shadow of themselves. They don't like to come out, they are shy. And in terms of the educational aspect, you know, we need to do more, because women have been, you know, stereotyped to just, you know, being at home, the cultural norms, and then we feel like everything that has to do with us is just making babies and then feeding, taking care of the family, right? But it's way beyond that. And when we are trying to push ourselves higher, learning more, and adding more mentorship to it actually helps a lot. And I can tell you from my own perspective that I have been able to grow myself by joining communities. People do not understand that being in a community where that can elevate you financially, like mentoring you, making you understand why you should be in this, why you should go for this. Like the other speaker said something about, you know, women trying to make sure that they want to make money because they just want to make money, but not understanding the importance of how that should be made. I believe that it's way beyond that. We need to understand how making money is not just, I just want to make this money, but I want to be able to be financially stable enough that generations to come will be able to benefit from what I have been able to do. And I thank God that, you know, my foundation has actually become a tool that I want to use to empower a lot of women to make sure that they get this training. You know, I believe in skill acquisition programs. I've always said this, that if there's a way we could actually add skill acquisition programs into our educational system, it's really going to find a way to empower a lot of kids at a young age, because I feel like it's something that should be included. The way we have home economists, it should be included in the curriculum. And I believe that it's something that could make every woman, every girl child know that this skill is something that you cannot just, you know, get it from anywhere. It's something that should grow from you. It's something that is inside of you. So it takes time. And, you know, I'm grateful to God that I have been able to take out time, even with the fact that I have family and a kid, you know, taking out time for yourself and saying to yourself that I need to build my mental strength. I need to build myself as a woman. It's way beyond that. A woman, some women don't see themselves as that, right? Because they are shy. They can't pull out that their strength. We have a lot of strength inside of us. So if we can be able to say to ourselves that I want to push myself beyond my limits, I know I can achieve a lot of things with that.
Well said. Let's come to Tosin as we begin to wind down. Tosin, you're a healthcare strategist. Sometimes we find that women care for everyone else except themselves. And they get caught up in that web. And sometimes it gets a bit late and things get very, quite difficult. Talk to us about women caring for themselves, especially their health. Tosin, that's for you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So like the popular saying goes, health is wealth. If we do not care for our health, definitely we won't be alive to take care of our families, won't be alive to take care of or to contribute to building the society, gaining career aspiration, career development, and growing in our careers, or even contributing to national development. So health is very, very important. And I will just narrow it down to lifestyle management, which is usually the bedrock of any form of management when it comes to health, right? So lifestyle management basically speaks to how you live every day, and that's the foundation for having for building a solid health, or having good health, right? So lifestyle basically has to do with you ensuring that you eat well. Be mindful of what goes into your mouth, right? There is this eat well plate that would always encourage, for instance, people even with diabetes to practice. Ensure that your food is not just filled with carbohydrates. You have a portion of protein, you have a portion of vegetables, you take a lot of water, there is an oil component as well in your food, right? So be mindful of what goes into your mouth. Exercise is another key component of having good health, right? For young people, it might be difficult for you to...
All right, Tosin. Yeah, my apologies. We just wanted to allow you just to keep talking because this is quite critical, but for time, I must thank you for coming through on today's our own International Women's Day, by the way. It was on Saturday. We decided to bring you ladies and give you the entire show. Tosin Akinsulure, healthcare growth strategist. Sandra Jibola, founder, CEO of BAI Empowerment Foundation, as well as Okpeyemi Kolawole, premium brand elevator, creative strategist, brand growth strategist. Thank you, ladies, for coming on the program. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, absolutely. Thank you so much for being part of the program. Thank you for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga.
And I'm Coyote Okikiolu. Don't forget, Sunrise Daily is next, and we're keeping our eyes on what's playing out in River State. So stay with us. This is Channels Television.
Bye-bye.